Where the hell is Knights of the Old Republic 3? It's a question that many people have asked since, well, Knights of the Old Republic 2 came out, and it's been a question that has gone unanswered since then, and someone's gonna be in the comments saying, well, they made the Old Republic. Nah. Not a true sequel. That's what we're talking about today, is the idea of a true sequel to the Knights of the Old Republic franchise. Because as you may know, I'm a big fan of RPG titles, especially classic ones, and especially anything to do with Star Wars, so naturally the Knights of the Old Republic series has always been one of my favorite game series ever. It was my personal first introduction to BioWare, and I've been absolutely hooked on everything that they've created since then. I cover all the stuff that they do, and all in all, I think they're a really good developer. And considering how popular the Knights of the Old Republic games were, and how they're considered to be some of, if not the best Star Wars games of all time, why hasn't it continued in the way that fans want it to? Well, there's a couple theories and a couple reasons I have for that, and that's what we're going to get into right now. The first one is pretty obvious. Now, don't get me wrong, they were definitely looking at the Old Republic to be kind of a sequel to that series, and they wanted to make it as faithful to it as possible while opening it up to a wider audience, and with the shutdown of Star Wars Galaxies, Star Wars did need a new MMO, and that's what the Old Republic was meant to fill. The problem was, especially on release, it never really lived up to the hype, and it was never going to be that true Knights of the Old Republic sequel. Because it was an MMO, it had to be a little bit more dumbed down, the locations had to be more widespread, less handcrafted, and it just didn't feel like a true sequel to the game. And as I've said in previous videos, I will readily admit that I think that the Old Republic is a great game now. The expansions that they've released, all the constant updates, the ability to play it for free now, have all really added to the feeling that it is a full-fledged product, and I think it's got a lot to offer people. And especially the newest expansions, they really focus on that good single-player content, and it's the closest that we've ever gotten to a true sequel. However, try as they might, they're never going to shake that feeling that many players and many fans of Star Wars and video games in general have, that they want to see a full-fledged sequel to the game. So where the hell is Knights of the Old Republic 3? You'd think that it's a given that it has to be made, especially since EA, the publisher, now has the rights to create most, if not all, of the Star Wars games that we're gonna see over the next, say, 10 years or so. Yet we have heard absolutely nothing about it, and it's entirely possible maybe they're working on it right now and they're just holding it, keeping it tightly under wraps, not telling anyone about it, but I don't think that's the case. Yes, that's right, we're getting into some conspiracy talk here, so hold on to your hats, get your tinfoil out. It's in my humble opinion that Knights of the Old Republic 3 isn't going to be made in the near future, and it's not going to be worked on, it's not even going to be considered, and the reason is, well, Star Wars has been reinvigorated over the last few years, and a big reason to do with that is Disney and their desire to keep everything all promoting other products in the franchise. And it's not to say that if they gave BioWare the go-ahead to make the game and make it a full-fledged sequel in the same timeline, that it wouldn't be good. I'm sure it would be fine, but that's not what they're focused on. They're not focused on making really good games right now, at least not Disney. BioWare, I'm sure, would put a lot of effort into it, but Disney itself is more focused on making sure that all of their products directly coincide with each other. And that's the reason that when Star Wars Battlefront was released in 2015, you could only play in the Galactic Civil War, and that's because that was the thing that players and viewers would be most familiar with when the new movie came out in The Force Awakens. Heck, there was even a tie-in map when that game was released to hype up the movie. So it stands to reason that the higher-ups at Disney and even over at EA probably want to make sure that every game coincides and connects to what people are seeing. They want you always to see similar things with Star Wars. That way you feel like you can't ever miss it. You have to get every single game, you have to watch every single movie, and they don't want all these timelines that are skipping around way too far. So basically the idea that we're going to get a Knights of the Old Republic game in the Old Republic in that time period is pretty much null. You throw in the fact that they've thrown out all the canon, they threw out the expanded universe, they're slowly bringing some stuff back in there, but for the most part, all of it's being discarded. In fact, I'm sure that if the Old Republic wasn't created before Disney got Star Wars, then it probably would have ended up being around the same time as the Galactic Civil War or the Rise of the Empire instead. So that right there kind of leaves us with the question, what games are going to be made with the Star Wars universe in mind? What is EA planning? Well, of course, they're making mobile games, copious amounts of mobile games. It's actually kind of terrible. But they're also working on a few others. Of course, Visceral is working on a yet unnamed Star Wars product. People were hoping it's going to be 1313. I'm going to say it's probably not going to be. I think that game is dead in the water. And in my opinion, I know people are going to really dislike this. I don't think that was going to be good. I don't think that LucasArts had the capability to make really good games near the end of their life cycle, so I'd like to see that one kind of just thrown away and let Visceral work on something else that's really interesting. Because as we've seen with them in the past, they're really good at making original IPs. Dead Space obviously comes to mind, and I would love to see what they do with the Star Wars license. However, I don't think it's going to be a true RPG or anything. It's going to be more of an action-oriented, probably third-person shooter, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with that and everything. However, I find it very unlikely that we're going to see a real RPG come out in the next few years in Star Wars, because they want to focus on getting everyone that's going to see the movies playing the games as well. And what type of games do the general populace play when they want to go see movies? Probably shooters, you know, first-person shooters like Battlefront, or a third-person shooter, anything more action-oriented that appeals to a wider audience, of course. That's usually the theme with these videos. They want to appeal to a wider audience, and I keep going back to it every time, but that's really why it is. That's why these publishers want to get as much money as they can. What's the best way to do that? Appeal to everyone possible. What is the best way to do that? Well, to make games that most casual players want to play. And spoiler alert, more people bought the Battlefront series than they did the Knights of the Old Republic series. That's just a fact. That's what happened. And it's really sad, because I would love to see what BioWare would do nowadays with this series, and I think they could craft a really good story to continue everything. Heck, they could even set it in a different time period, call it something else, whatever you want to. And however they decide to make, it's going to be a good game nonetheless, but unfortunately, with EA and Disney at the helm, the focus is going to be on a lot more casual and wide audience experiences. Therefore, we may not be seeing it for a long time. But hey, Kylo Ren's mask kind of looks like Revan, so there's hope, I guess. Yeah. Let me know your thoughts on this topic over in the comments. Just be respectful to everyone down there, because this is a safe space, damn it. I try as hard as I can to make it like that. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to my Discord channel. I'm there every single day, and you can ask me any questions you want at any single point. If you're watching on VidMe, I would highly recommend you throw $1 my way. I'd appreciate it. That'd be pretty cool. That way you can help support me. If you're not on VidMe or you want to support my Patreon, you can go down there and check it out as well. Links to all that stuff in the description. I am PattyJack, and I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.